Hey, yo, what it do, what it do? Welcome to the Axis of Combat podcast, episode 53. Me and my brother here, ready to break down UFC 301, happening in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ray Boogie, my co-host.
Hugo the boss, Hugo back in white. Hugo got next, you already know. Before we get into any of that business, you guys know the routine. Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Everybody enjoying these visuals right now, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, you already know. And before we jump into this UFC 301 card, we're going to recap some of our bets from last week. We had winning weeks, thank God. That card was a little sketchy with some of the decisions that went, here and there. But thank God me and my brother did not have any action on like the Figlac fight, for example, and another one or two fights that were kind of questionable with the decision. But we got some losses here. I had Mahashate's inside the distance. I thought he was going to get it done. We both thought he was going to get it done. He probably should have got it done. But, I guess with the change in camp, he was a little more cautious with his game plan. Machado's money line. Close fight. Probably should have stood away from this fight, but I don't regret the bet because everything I thought about the fight actually came to fruition outside of Mays winning. A little less volume from Machado than expected too, but let's just, we'll leave it there. I had Pierce's money line. Gave away that fight. I didn't want to talk about it. Whatever.
Guess Pierce don't like to grapple in the third round.
Oh my goodness gracious. Complete grappling advantage, and he just went completely away from it.
Yeah.
That was money in the bank. Like, that was an easy bet. And he just made us look silly. But, it is what it is. But had some long shots. Petrovic's round 2. Henry's round 2. Pierce's round 2 and round 3. Silva's knockout. And Lipsky's sub. With that said, here are my winners because I have so many. I had Menach's inside the distance. Silva's money line. Perez's money line. We had a parlay, both of us, for Henry's money line. Means Medic under 2.5 rounds. Lane Denise under 2.5 rounds. And Span Guskov under 2.5 rounds. Baby. Then we had Petrovic's round 3. Henry's round 3. So all of that came out, put me about 2 units up. Very happy, baby. Considering some of the fuckery from Pierce. Sorry to curse so this early in the podcast, but it's frustrating. And then outside that, turn it over to my brother. How'd you do, bro?
More or less about the same. I think we pretty much had identical bets. My unit sizing on the long shots was slightly different. So I was able to, squeeze out a little more profit on the long shots. But what I got wrong, again, Mahashate inside the distance, Machado's money line, and Pierce's money line. I ain't going to reiterate what you said because I feel exactly the same way. And we got the parlay here, plus 164, the Victor Henry money line, and then the under 2.5 on Medic Means, Lanes Denise, and Spain Guskov.
Easy parlay, man. I'm surprised you got those odds. I really am.
It wasn't, listen, it was a 4-legger, and
we don't do 4-leggers typically on the show.
No, we try to stay away from them because, obviously the more legs, the more risk, right? But
this one was money in the bank.
Yeah.
Money in the bank.
And for the long shots, I took a couple. You've heard what we got wrong and what we got right, but what I got right was Petrovic round 3 and the Henry round 3. So that was little juicy, know what I'm saying? So
very nice.
Finished about 2.6 up, and hey man, ready to keep it rolling into this card.
Let's do it.
First fight to kick off the prelims of UFC Vegas. Nope, not UFC Vegas. UFC 301, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We got Alexandre Costa. No. Going one-on-one with El Gallo Negro. Kevin Borjas. Costa, 13-4 overall, fighting out of Brazil. Hailing from Brazil, 28 years old. Actually, he's fighting out of Mexico because he trains with
Diego Lopez
himself.
Talk
and then we got
to me.
Kevin Borjas here. El Gallo Negro, 9-2, fighting out of Peru, hailing from Peru, 26 years old. I think exciting fight to kick off the card. I'm going to lean Borjas here. I think currently at the, he's a small dog. He's like plus 120 on most books. I like his volume. Even though he's coming off a loss against Joshua Van, that was a I rate Van high, and Borjas just looked impressive in that fight. If Costa, first of all, I think he's the rightful favorite, but if Costa is able to get the grappling, I think it gets a little spicy. But he's a little low volume. I don't like his strength of schedule. I'm going to lean Borjas here as the dog pick to win this fight. What about you?
And we already got our first disagreement. I like Costa here, and I like Costa because I think he's better everywhere, to be frank. I think he has a stronger strength of schedule. I think he has the grappling edge. Yeah, I like Costa here for those reasons. I understand the Borjas side. This fight is line close, which is correct. I think it should be line close. If you want to take a shot on Borjas, for sure. But my lean personally is going to be Costa because I think he does everything better, to be frank. I think Peruvian MMA is coming up, but I think Costa is a hammer, and I think Costa has weapons that he can facilitate against Borjas in this matchup and get the W.
Next fight on the prelims for UFC 301, we got Ismael Bonfim Mareta going one-on-one with Vinc from Hell Pichel. Bonfim, 19-4 overall, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 28 years old. Pichel, 14-3, fighting out of Cali, 41 years old. So, I mean, off the rip, listen, I get it. Bonfim, kind of showed some low IQ in his last fight against Benoit Saint Denis. I think he was going to probably lose that fight regardless, but Bonfim, this is the Bonfim brother that kind of likes to stand and bang. He's got the grappling, but he's not Ismael. Ismael likes to get to the grappling. This one prefers to stand. I'm leaning Bonfim here. I don't know how he wins. I'm gonna lean inside the distance here. Nothing wrong with Pichel here. I just think he's just too old. He's 41. He's turning 42. This is 2 years. I think it's like a 2-year layoff.
Yeah.
He was supposed to fight Bonfim actually last year, towards the end of last year. But Bonfim ended up missing weight, and Pichel is not trying to give anybody any kind of advantage. I don't blame him for pulling out of that fight. But instead of fighting another opponent, UFC ended up rebooking them for this fight here. And I feel the same way. I just think Pichel, I mean, he probably wants to keep this fight standing. Pichel can mix in the grappling. But I just think Bonfim is going to be stronger and faster, and I just think he's the side here, even though he's at minus 600. Yeah,
it's justified.
It's about justified here, in my opinion. I like Bonfim here, and I'm gonna lean inside the distance.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's just. I don't know how Vinc is gonna be able to deal with his physicality.
Yes,
I don't. I have a very hard. I know. Remember, I think Vinc is. I mean, he's beaten like guys who are physical, like Marco Madsen and stuff like that. But this Marco Madsen compared to Bonfim is like night and day, actually, especially with age.
I think he lost to Marco, right?
Oh, well, that was. Oh, you know why I say he beat him, right? Because he got fleeced on the decision.
That's true. Yeah,
he won that fight. I think Bonfim is. It's crazy that he's 28 and he has more professional fights than Vinc. So he has the experience edge. He's lost arguably to the better brand of competition because he lost to Moicano and BSD. He's going to be bigger, stronger, better on the floor, in my opinion. I could see a club and sub here. I think Bonfim inside the distance is definitely the play.
Next fight on the prelims for UFC 301. I keep wanting to say Vegas. We got a debuting Dione Barbosa going one-on-one with a debuting Ernesta Kareckaite. I think that's his last name. The Witch Barbosa, 6-2, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 31 years old. Ernesta, heavy-handed. That's her nickname. We'll see about that. I got feelings. 5-0-1. So, I mean, is that perfect? I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the one's a draw. So, I mean,
perfect.
Fighting out of Lithuania, hailing from Lithuania. I think I'm
Lithuania.
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 Yeah. That's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, a little bit.
25 years old. All right. A bit of a binary fight here. I'm leaning Barbosa. Kareckaite, listen. The things I like about her, she walks forward, pressure, tons of volume. Doesn't really have any kind of, I mean, for a nickname, have it like heavy-handed, doesn't have any knockouts.
No.
But she will throw volume. I think her last fight in the Contender Series, I mean, they might have set a record there. She threw crazy shit. But the thing I don't like about her is that she's very hittable. I think the power is lacking. And I think you can take her down and control her. Barbosa, I think she's just the better fighter overall. I think when it comes to the stand-up, I don't think it's a wash. I will lean Ernesta here. But I think she can hold her own. Barbosa can shoot. She'll take you down against the cage. She'll blast W in the middle of the ring. Or the middle of the octagon, whatever you want to call it. And I think her jiu-jitsu is just next level. I mean, she trains with Cyborg. She's got tutorials online with Cyborg. I'm leaning Barbosa here, and I think this fight probably does. If it goes to the ground, I think it's probably just going to take one.
Yeah.
That's how wicked I think she is when it comes to her jits. So I'm going to lean Barbosa here, and I'm going to lean inside the distance. I'm going to lean submission win for Barbosa. But I think, what's the line on this, by the way?
It is. She's a minus 238.
Yeah, the money line's juiced, but you know, I think if you lean like I'm leaning, inside the distance is probably the play here, and submission is probably the play.
I agree. I think Ernesta gives up her back way too much, to be frank. In all her fights, she kind of like leans and gets against the cage, but you can't do that against someone like Barbosa. Barbosa also went to a unanimous decision loss against Jenna Bishop. You could argue she won that fight. Me and my brother both thought it should have been split. Yeah. I think Jenna's jiu-jitsu is legit. She is a very good fighter. She is training with Cyborg. She is giving tutorials with Cyborg online. You can find them. I don't know if they're charging you, but I know that we don't charge you here, so you should hit that subscribe button as soon as possible.
Message.
But I like Barbosa here because I agree. I think if it hits the floor once, she's gonna strangle her. I think, and I do think her wrestling is not the greatest, but it's good enough to get this girl against the cage and make her work. If Barbosa cannot get this to the floor, I do worry a little bit, but I do think she can hold her on the feet as well.
I think in terms of cardio, right? Because, yeah. I mean, again, Ernesta got the swimming background. So, I mean, she got cardio for days, that girl.
Days. And she's built like a swimmer. I just think this is a big step up in competition for her. And a girl, no one's really trying to wrestle her. So I'm going to lean the wrestler here and / grappler, and we're going to find out. But she gives up her back way too much, and I don't like that at all. If you're especially against a girl as high level as Barbosa. So Barbosa's the lean. Don't know how I'm going to play it, but probably ITD.
Next fight in the prelims, we got a debuting Mauricio Ruffy. One shot. Going one-on-one with Jamie Mullarkey. Ruffy. Or Ruffy. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but yeah, Ruffy sounds fucked up.
Ruffy gets you in the Hangover movie.
I'm going to call him Ruffy. I hope I'm getting it right. 9-1, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 31 years old. Actually, 30 years old. Going to turn 31 in 2 weeks. 2 months. And Jamie Mullarkey, 17-7, fighting out of Australia, 29 years old. This fight, I'm going to be leaning Ruffy. I'm fucking his name up bad. I mean, he might roofie him.
Just say Mauricio.
Listen, Jamie, I'll give Jamie credit. I feel like Jamie has been getting better. I think he might be the higher IQ fighter here, but the problem is I just can't rely on Jamie's chin.
No.
I really can't. Jamie, most of his losses, especially recently, have been by KO or TKO.
At random parts of the fight where he's winning, which is hilarious.
Exactly. But he's up until he's not. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Ruffy, Mauricio. The things I don't like about him is that he's a little bit low volume. In his Contender Series fight, he was losing that fight until the 3rd round. I think he does have very heavy striking. I think his leg kicks are very heavy. I think his striking is very deadly. Problem is like, you know, again, he's more of a counter striker kind of fighter. And I can see Jamie kind of playing into that because Jamie for some reason always ends up in a scrap, and then when he ends up in a scrap, I mean, give me the guy who I'm just gonna rely on his chin. I don't trust Mullarkey's chin, so give me Ruffy here. I think the fight probably should be lined a little closer because I think people are probably shitting on Mullarkey a little too much, but I get it because it's chin. But Ruffy probably inside the distance.
And here's why the fight is probably lined a little bit more like this. I'm looking at this now, and I remember the Contender Series fight. It was at welterweight. This fight's at 55.
That's right.
So he's gonna be bigger. I mean, Mullarkey's a bigger 55er, but Mauricio didn't look too badly undersized against a big 70-pounder in the Contender Series, and a guy who could wrestle, could grapple. He held his own, mounted him in the third round, and just elbowed him, smashed his face to finish that fight. This guy Mauricio might finish him quick because I think his striking's clean, man. He hits very hard. He knows where to find you. He knows how to pick up on your tells and he's a very high level striker in my opinion. Throws a lot of spinning back kicks, can knock you out with that, can knock you out with his hands. I think Mauricio's gonna knock him out. Just when, I don't know, but ITD for sure from Mauricio. I think Jamie's just a little over the hill here, and I think he's gonna have a hard time dealing with Mauricio's distance management as well as his power and his timing. So give me Mauricio inside the distance, probably by knockout.
Next fight on the prelims, and this is probably, I think, the early prelim main event. We got Joaquim Silva, or as some people call him, Joaquim Silva. I don't like when people say Joaquim. I think it's Joaquim.
It's Joaquim.
Joaquim Silva, Neto, BJJ. Going one-on-one with Drakkar. It's like Game of Thrones. Drakkar Klose. Silva, 13-4, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 35 years old. Klose, fighting out of Arizona, 14-2-1 overall, 36 years old. This is probably one of the harder fights to kind of like get a read on.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna lean Klose.
Yes,
I think Klose, gun to the head, I think he's just better everywhere. Not to sleep on Silva. I think Silva, I mean, he comes in looking like a Brazilian Adonis, jacked to the gills. He's got the power. I mean, he's got the BJJ, hopefully, Neto. You know what I'm saying? You got to. But I just think Drakkar Klose, a little bit, I think in terms of the IQ, I think he's got the better IQ, and I think he's got the better cardio.
Correct. I
think the longer this fight goes, the better it is for Klose. I'm going to lean Klose here, and I'm going to lean Klose by decision. But not too confident, because Silva can catch him early. And I could see this. There's a scenario where I could see this fight ending inside the distance if they both decide to just swang and bang. You know what I'm saying? But give me Klose here, and what I think is going to be a close fight. Bars.
Yes. I'm with you on Klose, and it's going to be close, but
bars.
What I will say is that Klose is that I think what the most underrated part of his game is his grappling. Like, he can legit grapple too, because he was training under Benson Henderson for God knows how long. I think he still is, to be honest. Joaquim is too low volume for me to play him here. And you've seen it with Clay Guida. The only time you've seen him kind of step out of that round was against Armin Sarukian, and that's because Armin kind of gave him no choice to.
Yeah.
But I also think he wanted to just fight to make a point to see if he could break into the top 10, top 5. I haven't seen it from him. The Clay Guida fight was very eye-opening. He barely won. Did he win that fight?
I don't recall.
I think if he won, he barely won that fight.
Guida, I mean, they got him a unanimous decision, but I think I will have to watch that again.
No, it was close. It was close.
It was probably closer than what the result was.
It was close. And,
bars.
I just think Drakkar is going to give him a lot of different things to think about. He's only got 2 losses on his record. One of them's to Beneil Dariush, who I think is arguably one of the biggest frauds in lightweight history. I'm going to just go out on record and say that dude's always had a dustpan chin. His jiu-jitsu's legit. His striking is pretty good too, but he hasn't done it against I don't want to make this a Beneil trashing, but, what I will say is I think Drakkar almost killed him in that fight before being killed. And I think he can do that to anybody in this division, especially within the top 10 to 15. Joaquim's not even ranked, so give me Drakkar here. I think Drakkar is the lean. Don't know how I'm going to bet it.
To kick off the regular prelim portion of UFC 301, we have João Silva, Lord Assassin, going one-on-one with the Jaguar, William Gomis. Silva, 12-2, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 27 years old. Gomis, 13-2, fighting out of France, hailing from France, 26 years old. Listen, as much as I want to lean Silva here, I think, he's an exciting fighter. Pressure, walks forward. I'm going to lean Gomis here, and I think he's the slight dog at the moment. I'm going to lean Gomis here to win, and he's probably going to win maybe a boring decision, if I'm being completely honest. The reason why I'm leaning Gomis, and I just think he's just a high IQ fighter. I think defensively, he's very good. And I mean, this fight is pretty much going to come down to who can dictate the pace of the fight. Can Silva's walk forward pressure and power overwhelm Gomis's defense? Gomis kind of likes to work in space. I'm just gonna lean Gomis here. I don't like it because I don't like Gomis personally. I mean, not personally. I mean, I don't know the guy, right? But I just don't like his style, I guess. You know what I'm saying? And I just think Gomis is going to be able to counter strike where he needs to counter strike, take him down where he needs to take him down.
Yeah.
And, just do what he needs to do to win this fight. I know there's disadvantages. He's coming from France. I don't know how long he's been there. He's probably going to get booed out the fucking building. But, yeah, just give me Gomis here, unfortunately. I'm rooting for Jean. I am. I'm rooting for Lord Assassin to whoop his ass, but I just don't trust the IQ, and I don't trust the defense of Jean.
Yeah, my mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. You know what I'm saying? On this fight, I like John Silva. I like his style. I like everything about this kid, man. But I just feel like Gomis is gonna make this a snooze fest, man. This is one of those fights. I hate to sound terrible. If you'll know how it's gonna look after the first round.
You'll probably know how it's gonna look after the first minute.
Yeah, and if that's the case, if it's a Gomis fight, get ready to get up, use the restroom, walk your dog, get some food, because it's gonna be, or if you just want to stay there, just get your pillow, set the alarm for 18 minutes with the minute breaks in between the fights.
Get a quick little nap in, yeah.
I want to bet John so bad here. I do. But I just feel like Gomis, and I'm surprised he's the dog here. He's going to do I feel like he's going to be able to do what he wants in this fight. I feel like he's going to be able to get the takedowns. I feel like he's going to be able to outstrike him a bit, especially from the southpaw stance. The body kick is going to be there. Gomis is a high IQ fighter, man. And I think this is a very, very tough fight for John, especially in his second fight. And it's a big step up in competition after dispatching of a guy who probably shouldn't have been in the UFC in Weston Wilson. So I like Gomis here, man, but it breaks my heart to say that out loud, especially in a John Silva fight. This guy's intense. Wait for the walkouts, the face-offs. This guy he just looks at you like he's ready to kill. But then if he wins the fight, he's gonna cry. He's gonna cry after the fight for victory. So yeah, but I like Gomis here. I think Gomis has way better tools. So Gomis for the lead and possibly a bet, especially at dog money. I'm surprised he's a dog in this fight. So.
Next fight on the prelims, and on paper, this fight is, I'm excited about this fight. It's Elves Brener, no nickname, going against Myktybek? I don't know how to say his first name. Orolbai.
Yeah.
And, again, excited for this fight. I think this fight, I forgot, I was looking down this card, and I was like, oh, shit, this is on this card? That's kind of crazy.
Might be fight of the night, to be honest.
Could be. Brener. 16-3, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 26 years old. Orolbai, 12-1-1, fighting out of Kazakhstan. I think that's how you say it.
I think so.
Hailing from Kazakhstan, fighting out of Kazakhstan, 26 years old. As much as I like Brener, the ultimate comeback kid, I think that's probably the only way he's going to win this fight. I think the key word for this fight, in my opinion, is going to be separation. Can Brener separate from Orolbai and his grappling? And actually not his grappling, his wrestling.
Yes.
Orolbai is he's a tough son of a bitch. And he's coming down to 155 here. It's going to be pretty interesting to see this guy make weight because he's big. But he's coming down to 155. Brener, I think if this fight stays standing, he's got a chance. But I think Orolbai's striking is solid enough where it's probably a 50-50. I'm going to lean Orolbai's chin a little more. And I'm definitely going to lean Orolbai. I think as deadly as Brener is in the submission game, first of all, we haven't seen it in the UFC yet. And second of all, I always prefer to favor the wrestler over the grappler.
Especially if they're a good wrestler.
Especially if they're very good. And I think Orolbai is going to be able to take Brener down probably several times and just do what he wants, if I'm being completely honest. I'm leaning Orolbai here for the win. I'm going to lean decision because Brenner's a tough son of a bitch. But if you like the Brener side, maybe round 3 is probably just play round 3 as a, little lotto long shot pick.
Or live bet him.
Or live bet him. You're right. He's going to be down.
He's going to be down in this fight. And I'm with you. I mean, if you look at Orolbai, guys, he looks like someone that jumped out of the Ice Age.
Yeah, they thought him out from the Neolithic.
He has the
Mesopotamian era.
He looks like
one of the first human beings.
Yeah, I'll leave it there because I can't use any of the words that might get me canceled.
I mean, listen, Brener. It also looks like a Brazilian version of. Maybe they thought him out of the Amazon, or maybe they found him floating in Antarctica.
No, but Orolbai looks like he used to ride mammoths. like I'm telling you guys, and listen. Despite all that,
they're very handsome men.
Yeah, this guy was he has a video of him grappling Belal Muhammad, and I know how some of you may feel about Belal Muhammad, but Belal Muhammad's a very good fighter, very good wrestler. Worked with Khabib, made massive improvements on top of the improvements that he had already made prior to working with Khabib. And Orolbai was moving him around, man, beating him in the positions, beating him in the wrestling exchanges. He was just a step ahead of Belal, and he didn't look outmatched with power or I mean, this guy's a monster. I think this guy's the real deal. I think he's probably going to get Brener out of there ITD. But with that said, as my brother said, Brener did come back and stop. What's this guy's name, man? I always get his name wrong. Because I always say Giga Chikadze, but it's definitely not him. He looks like Kudalatse.
Yeah.
He looks like Tommaso Ciampa and shit from WWE. They look exact. They're brothers. If you would have said they're brothers, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. So, but he came back and stopped him, and he was getting his ass whipped in that fight. But then he had his moments, and then he was able to pick up. I just don't see it here because Orolbai does have that wrestling advantage, so if he starts getting lit up on the feet, he can just take it there and hold him there.
Yeah.
I just feel like he's gonna find a way to finish this fight. And the one loss on his record, you can argue he won that fight. It was against a very good Russian fighter, but I just, if you watch the fight, I think Orolbai had the better moments in the first 2 rounds, and then the third round, I don't know. I thought he won the fight, so. I think I look at him as an undefeated prospect. I think the UFC kind of looks at him like that. I like Orolbai here for a lot of reasons. And he thumps on the feet. That's the other thing, too. He hits extremely hard.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Now, how he looked depleted, I don't know, but he's moving around and taking good shots from big punchers like Medic at welterweight. And then moving around Medic like it's nobody's business. And Belal Muhammad, who's going to fight for the belt next. So I'm all over Orolbai here. So
next fight on the prelims at women's strawweight, we got Karolina Kowalkiewicz going 1-on-1 with Iasmin Lucindo. Kowalkiewicz, 16-7, fighting out of Poland, hailing from Poland, 38 years old. Lucindo, 15-5, hailing from Brazil, fighting out of Brazil, 22 years old. Good fight, I think. I think this is the better of the 2 women's fights that they have in this card. A step up for Lucindo, 100%. And for Kowalkiewicz, I think this is both a step up and a step down. Step down because, I mean, listen, Kowalkiewicz, 38 years old. I think there's like a 17-year age gap difference on this between the two. She's fought the who's who, and maybe hasn't won or gotten the better of that, but experience-wise, I mean, she's got it. The reason why I say it's a step up is because ever since she's came back, I mean, she's been on a 3-fight winning streak, but the level of competition has been a bit, I don't want to say soft, but it's been a bit soft.
Fraudulent would be probably the best word, and I am going to be mean about it.
I'm going to say soft.
It's a retiring Felice Herring. Silvana Gomez Juarez, is she even still in the UFC? Vanessa Demopoulos was a stripper 3 weeks ago and became a UFC fighter, very undersized for the Division 2. And Diana Belbita already has 1 foot out the door. None of these girls are ranked. None of these girls are... And she beat them. She beat them all, and she probably should have stopped all of them, to be frank. But she didn't. She only stopped one of them, which is Felice, and she stopped it via rear naked choke. But... Sorry to jump in, by the way, but
no.
Yeah, I think
I don't got that much to say. I'm just gonna say I'm leaning Lucindo here for 2 factors. I think speed and power
and youth,
and well, I guess that's 3 and youth,
and
right?
Youth. Yeah, I mean,
she should be able to get it done. Again, Kowalkiewicz is a good test, a good litmus test for her because it's she's a well balanced fighter. If lately Kowalkiewicz has been displaying the wrestling chops, and I think that's gonna be pretty interesting in this fight. But I think if this fight stays standing, Kowalkiewicz does tend to get hit a lot. And, I mean, with Lucindo, who I think's got a little bit of a power edge here, I think, it's not going to look good. Because Kowalkiewicz don't really look... She doesn't absorb hits the best.
No.
She'll get... she's like a Diaz where, like, you touch her once and she's already, like, swollen. She starts bleeding. Lucindo should win this fight. The line should probably be closer, in my opinion, only because... I'm putting a little more respect on Kowalkiewicz, just overall body of work, but Lucindo should get this done, and I'm probably gonna lean decision, but I wouldn't rule out like a 3rd round finish either.
Yeah, I think Karolina has rejuvenated her career going to ATT. I just don't think it's gonna be enough. I don't know if her body is gonna be able to hold up to the ferocity that Lucindo's gonna throw at her. I also believe she's gonna be the smaller girl in this fight. Not too much. You know what? Lucindo isn't that tall. That's very true. But she is a little bit of a thicker woman. But I just think this girl has the tools, man. And, she fought Jeregi on her debut. And that fight was competitive. And Jeregi's a fucking hammer. So, Lucindo's done what you've had to do against her next 2 opponents. She's either worked them to the point where it's bad, like against Brogan Walker, or she stopped them like she did against Poliana Viana. I just think this is a massive step up from what Karolina has recently defeated. I do worry about the wrestling just a bit, but not enough to give her the lean against Lucindo. Lucindo does have grappling pedigree on her side too, so I don't think she's a complete novice on the floor at all. So Lucindo, and I don't know, man. This is women's MMA 101. I don't know if it's going to be ITD or by decision, but we'll figure that out close to the fight. I want to see these weight cuts. I want to see everything. I want to see how they're talking. And but I'm going to lean Lucindo via decision.
Next up on the prelims, and this is currently constituted, it's the prelim main event. We got Joanderson Brito, featherweight. I don't know how to say his nickname. I'm just going to leave that alone. Go on one-on-one with the Tank, or just Tank, Jack Shore.
I call him the Big Shark because he got a big-ass shark on his back.
Dude, that shark tattoo is sick.
Yeah.
Low key.
It's him. But he's him.
I mean, he fights like a shark.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Brito, 16-3-1, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 29 years old. Jack Shore, 17-1, fighting out of Wales, hailing from Wales, 29 years old. I think the key word for this fight is going to be... What should the key word for this fight be? Physicality. I think is all gonna come down to physicality. Jack Shore is a bantamweight. To be honest, I think his first fight at featherweight was his last fight at featherweight, and I mean he looked okay. We'll see how he fills out. I think it's been about a year since his last fight. Brito looks like a lightweight, but fights at featherweight.
Hits like a welterweight.
I'm going to lean Brito here. I think Brito probably by submission is where I'm going to lean here. If you want to play it safe, maybe fight ends in submission because I don't think Jack Shore has got any kind of hands for Brito.
You also talked about his injury in his hand.
Also, Jack Shore coming off a hand injury, and he's only really been training for about 3 months.
Ugh.
That's what I read online. And, listen, man. Brito is just going to be I think he's just going to be a big bully in there, if I'm being completely honest. Give me Brito here. Inside the distance, leaning sub. That's going to be my pick. Nothing against Jack Shore. I think Jack Shore, again, he's slick on the ground, but Brito just might be too big, too strong, too much.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that's the only way Jack Shore is probably going to win this fight. Ricky Simone was able to move him around. Ricky Simone is a beast, which I'm not going to take anything away from him. But if you're asking me who's stronger of the two, Brito's stronger. Brito also was able to take down Diego Lopez in the Contender Series fight and deal with his guard. So I expect him to be able to deal with Jack Shore's guard. I think Brito is a submission threat. Brito is a threat to knock him out on the feet. Jack Shore also hasn't been as active as you like him to be. He's going to have trouble with a guy who's going to be blitzing him initially. Brito's going to harness the power of Brazil in this fight since he's in Rio de Janeiro, and I think he gets him out of there inside the distance. I think he's going to be way too much for him. I really do. I just think the physicality is going to be way too much for Jack. Unless he's built his body, I would love to see weigh-ins. But yes. even so, the
only people that really give Brito problems are people who out physical him. I mean, in his last fight or second to last fight against JSP is super physical and super relentless when it comes to the grappling. And then even his Contender Series fight, he beat Diego Lopez, a guy known for being super physical and super strong. He also kind of struggled in that fight as well. Jack Shore, I just don't see him being as physical as those two guys. And, unless he comes in juiced to the gills, we don't know what he looks like. This is going to be his second fight at featherweight, but, I think physicality is literally the key word of this fight.
Yeah, and two other points. The only guy that's really beaten him on the UFC level, Brito, is Bill Algeo, but it's because Bill was able to keep him on the outside and use his footwork, which Jack Shore does not have.
No.
He's not going to be a long enough person to jab this guy, and he doesn't have the footwork. I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never been very impressed with Jack Shore. We made a ton of money fading him against Ricky Simone, if I remember correctly. So I just think that unless he's made some major improvements with his physicality and his body and his hands, I just don't see how he's going to win this fight. Brito, a master of taking the back. And I think he's probably going to get to his back here too. If not, he's just going to control him with the wrestling or knock him out on the feet. So Brito inside the distance, and that's where it's going to be.
To kick off the main card for UFC 301 in Brazil, we got Paul Craig going one-on-one with Caio Rojalio. The Bear Jew, Craig, 17-7 and 1 overall. Fighting out of Scotland, hailing from Scotland, 36 years old. Caio, the natural, Rojalio, 15-1. Fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 31 years old. I think good fight to kick off the main card. I'm leaning Rojalio here, and I'm leaning Rojalio for a couple of reasons. I think his grappling is going to be a neutralizer. I think him and Paul Craig, Paul Craig, he wins one way for the most part. That's with his grappling. I think Caio is super good. And I think that neutralizes that part. Where Caio has the edge is in the striking. Paul Craig don't strike. He'll throw his kicks, but he doesn't look comfortable on his feet. Where Paul Craig wants to fight is on the ground. I'm going to lean Rojalio here. I'm going to lean Rojalio probably by decision. It's hard to get a read on Rojalio because I feel like Rojalio should be finishing some guys that he usually that otherwise he didn't finish. It's weird, but Brojali's the side for me. I don't know.
I'm with you on the Brojalo lean here. I don't know if I can get around to this number at all, to be frank. I think it's a little outrageous. And here's why. I'm never going to touch Brojalo with what you said. I think he's better on the feet. I think his jiu-jitsu is going to probably be in line with Craig's. But here's what I will say. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm reaching here a little bit, but I feel like this could look a lot like the Andre Muniz fight. And if it looks like the Andre Muniz fight with Paul Craig, there's a good chance Paul Craig can win this fight, which is fucking crazy. Am I going to bet him? Not sure, but I will say I think possibility for a live dog here. And here's why. I feel like Paul is going to be way bigger than Brojalo. The physicality is going to be on the Paul side, in my opinion. So Brojalo might need to wrestle into him a little bit in certain instances. And Paul may be able to take advantage of that. The other thing is, too, if I remember correctly, Muniz tried standing with Paul, too, and winded up kind of getting in some compromising positions with Paul. And it's just because Paul was so much bigger than him. Now, am I higher on Brojalo than I am Muniz? Yeah, I am. But what I will say is the level of competition is on the Paul Craig side. And he has submitted higher levels of competition. Now, do they have the grappling resume of Brojalo? No. But what I will say is I think Muniz does. And I think Muniz is, until that fight, people thought he was the better striker. He was a better striker than a lot of people.
Yeah, but we know better now.
We knew. We always knew because we faded him in that fight. We took Paul.
Yeah.
Remember that shit? Cha-ching. Cashed out on that, you know? But do I think Brojalo's a little better than Muniz on the feet? Yeah. I'll give him that because I think he throws kicks better. I think he's able to mix in the wrestling better. The thing is, a lot of what Brojalo does is to get to the wrestling. Will he want to play with Paul on the floor like that? Maybe. But Brojalo also doesn't throw a ton of ground and pound either. So is Paul really going to be in trouble in this fight outside of getting subbed? Which can happen, by the way. I'm not going to put it past him, but all I'm saying is I'm not sure Paul's going to be in real danger on the floor with Brojalo unless Brojalo gets his back. On the feet, if Paul can implement it the same way he did against Muniz, big trouble Brojalo. I like Brojalo here as the rightful favorite, but man, at plus 470, his sub's going to be at least plus 5. I might have to ride that wave. Or he might get, and the thing is, we've seen what he's done. If he can get on top of Brojalo somehow, some way with a sweep, how's Brojalo going to look on the floor? I do think he's going to be competent off his back with Damian Maia, training off of him because Damian Maia is a master everywhere off his back. If he had top position, but we haven't seen Brojalo really on his back. So what happens if Paul magically gets him down, just wrestles him down, gets his back? He is going to be the bigger guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just feel like if it's standing, I think it's just night and day. I think Brojalo is just the better striker. Like no,
I'm with you. You know
what I'm saying?
I'm with you. Muniz was the thing too, though.
Yeah,
because Muniz is way better than him on the feet too.
I mean, but Muniz is not. His stand up isn't that good. I mean, I'm just being honest. I don't think so. But I think Brojalo is just a better striker.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of there. I just. Besides like a high kick and the body kick and his hands, doesn't really throw feint. He doesn't do a lot of things. I still think I favor his talent level and his ceiling more than Muniz's, but the striking is, I don't want to say it's too far. I think Brojalo's a little better, but it ain't too far. That's all I'm saying. I just think at 470, Paul Craig, against a guy who most of the time his path of victory is to wrestle. Usually he uses his strikes to wrestle. So I'm just having a hard time getting around this number, So Brojalo aside, Paul Craig might be the bet.
Next fight on the main card. At middleweight, we got Michel Domelitor Pereira going against Ihor Duelist Poteria. Pereira, 30-11, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 30 years old. Poteria, 21-5, fighting out of Ukraine, hailing from the Ukraine, 27 years old. Not Michel Pereira's original opponent. I think his original opponent, and I give you the name right now, was supposed to be Mahmoud Muradov. He falls out. Pretoria answers the call. I'm gonna lean Michelle here. I think he's probably the right side here. His money line is a little outrageous in my opinion. Pretoria, listen, I wasn't too high on the guy when he first came in, but he has shown improvement in his game. I think Pereira early is probably the way this fight is going to go, because Pereira has just been on a roll. I think he's just a more athletic guy, the more dynamic guy. He's got the grappling upside. He's got the finishing upside, in my opinion. But Pretoria, one thing I'll give him credit for, dude's a dog. He's a dog. I think his striking is a little underrated. Pereira, can't really count on him too much to go to the grappling. So I think this fight is probably going to play out a little closer than what the line indicates. Now, would I be surprised if this fight went the distance? It was just an exciting 3-round back and forth war. No, not really. I think if Pretoria is able to survive the early onslaught of Pereira does tend to gas as the fight goes longer. And I could see Pretoria kind of, I could see it looking like, maybe not like Onama Landwehr sloppy, but something like that. I'm leaning Pereira here to win. Probably inside the distance. I'm probably going to look at the prop market to see Pereira by decision. Just curious.
Pereira round 1, round 2.
Who knows? But I think Pereira is the right side here, but that money line is yikes. That's so big to bet on a guy who's probably going to gas out on the entrance right before the fight.
This is ridiculous.
So, Pereira, I'm leaning Pereira here for the win. Probably inside the distance.
Yeah, I like Pereira too for all the reasons you listed. I also, Ihor's taking this fight at last minute notice. He is a big guy. Used to fight at 205, now cutting down to middleweight. Looked like hot shit and missed weight his last time he fought at this weight class. Pereira goes to the body with the lead teep kicks, stops Olan Jacek, who is a tough dude. I could see the same thing happening here, man. That little teep kick he does, he's so explosive, throws it so well. And I just feel like he's hittable, man. Like he's a dog, but the speed is going to be the difference in this fight. And I really think speed kills, man. Speed's going to hurt him. And I think Pereira gets him out the first 2 rounds. Hopefully Pereira doesn't come out dancing because he is in Brazil. Hopefully he just dances after he gets his victory.
Yeah.
But if he comes out dancing, I'm going to tell everyone on Twitter, please get off my bet. This shit does not count. Please don't do it. But I like Pereira for round 1, round 2. Probably round 1 because I think he's going to go to the body early. The speed's going to mess with Pretoria and he's going to get him out of there. Pereira, probably first round knockout.
Featured bout, UFC 301, light heavyweight. Anthony Smith, Lionheart, going one-on-one with Vitor Icao Petrino.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Smith, 37-19, fighting out of Nebraska, 35 years old. Petrino, perfect, 11-0, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 26 years old. No disrespect to Anthony Smith. I was going to call him Bogdan Guskov, but I made that joke last week.
Yeah.
I probably should have made it this week.
No, Mac.
I fucked
late
up.
too.
Anthony Smith, listen, he's got like over 50 fights, professional fights. He's probably got even more unprofessional fights. This guy, long in the tooth, grizzled vet. My opinion, probably should have hung it up about a couple fights ago. I like Anthony Smith here.
It's hard to watch him fight at this point, in my opinion.
I'm obviously, this line is crazy. I mean, it would be dog or pass, but it's probably more of a pass. I'm leaning Petrino here. I think Petrino is just too strong, too athletic. He could, knock him out.
Sub him.
He could sub him. He can take him down. And even if Anthony takes him down, I don't know if Anthony can hold him down.
Correct.
Because Petrino's just that explosive.
He's a gorilla, man.
I'm leaning Petrino here, probably inside the distance. Maybe Anthony is savvy enough to kind of like maybe draw this fight out. I can see like a 30-27 if it gets the decision. but I'm gonna lean Petrino here. I just it's sad. I just don't see a way Smith can really eke this one out outside of like maybe maybe like a sub. It's probably his best path to victory here. I think if it's standing, I think it's only just a matter of time until Petrino just lands on his chin. And on the ground, again, just so explosive. And Petrino's not a fish out of water off his back or on top. So Petrino's the side here, but from a betting perspective, I don't know how I'm going to attack this fight.
Yeah, the Pleasure Man couldn't hold him down, and Pleasure Man's a pretty big guy. Pleasure Man also has decent grappling. I just think Petrino, I think Anthony's way too long in the tube. Did not look good his last couple of fights. Did not look good the way he took shots. Did not look good the way he was responding to certain shots. Petrino hits way harder than this guy. Than most of those guys that he fought previously, outside of probably Khalil Roundtree. But you know what's crazy about this? This is one of the first fights I've ever encountered where I don't know how to bet the favorite, particularly just because we don't know if he's going to finish him or go to decision.
Yeah.
Because the last couple of guys he should have finished, and he didn't finish him. And this fight is, I don't know if 575 is a parlayable piece. I'm pretty sure it's not. Unless you could find a whole bunch of other good favorites that you like on this card. He is a lock as a pick, but I just don't recommend parlaying him for a 4-leg with 3 other guys that may be suspect, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is a pass, to be honest with you, but Petrino, but however he wants. Like, it's just, I don't see Anthony being able to hold him down or outstrike him unless it's a lucky shot.
I think you just go to the prop market and just, look for a nice prop.
Yeah, with some good juice, some good line, a good line, and you leave it at that. I agree with you. Because you don't know what's going to happen. Is Anthony's durability going to hold up, or is Petrino going to drag this to a decision? Like, he could. And this is the wild part about this, because if Petrino was more, you could depend on him to be a finisher, you play him to finish. But his last 2 or 3 fights, guys he should have stopped went to decision. So,
now they are going to be in Brazil, so I'm leaning more finish than anything. These guys are going to be pumped up to be at home.
100%. Probably that's a good point. I'll say ITD just because of that factor. So ITD.
Co-main event at bantamweight. We got the Dragon, Jonathan Martinez, going one-on-one with the returning, unretired King of Rio, Jose Jr. Aldo. Martinez, 19-4, fighting out of Plainview, Texas, 30 years old. Jose Aldo, 31-8, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 37 years old. Happy to probably see Aldo fight one more time. Last fight on his contract. I feel like they kind of not forced him to fight here, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to say no to like one more fight in his hometown, in his home country. I don't know who I'm leaning here. I think Aldo, obviously, the better fighter, right? Resume speaks for itself. Arguably the best featherweight in UFC history. Some might argue. This fight is taking place at bantamweight as well. By the way, Aldo, the problem that I have with Aldo here is, first of all, he's unretiring just for this one fight. I think he's unretiring just to retire in Brazil, my opinion. He's got crazy leg kicks, but he doesn't really go to them anymore. He's got solid takedown defense, which I think would help him in this fight. I think he can grapple, doesn't really go to it. In his time off, he has been boxing. I think the key word for this fight is going to be distance. Where does this fight take place? Because with a guy in Jonathan Martinez, I think if this fight takes place in the kickboxing range, that kickboxing realm, the kicking range, I think Jonathan Martinez probably wins this fight. And it's only because Aldo doesn't use his kicking and to stop using it. And I think it's probably just more of I'm just trying to conserve cardio here. I am older. He is going to start off strong, but does, tire out as the fight goes on. Martinez, listen, leg kicks. That's what he's got. Versatile with his leg kicks. He can go high, he can go low. He's got a good step-in kick. Super wicked calf kick. He's younger. I don't think he was the original opponent for this fight. I think they were really trying to get Dom Cruz to come, but Dom Cruz is virtually always injured.
Yep.
So it sucks to Dom Cruz. It would have been probably a better fight if Dom Cruz was here. And not that this fight's going to be bad, but
yeah, I think Aldo has passed the victory here.
He does.
He does.
It's just whether he chooses to go to that. You know what I'm saying? And that's my big question mark on the Aldo side, because I mean, if he used his leg kicks, if he used his wrestling, if he used his grappling, I mean, this fight is way more interesting. But I think Aldo, for the most part, probably just wants to keep this fight in boxing range. And I think if this fight takes place in boxing range, I think he's the better striker in terms, of boxing. So if this fight takes place in the boxing range, Aldo's the side. If this fight takes place in the kickboxing range, I think Martinez is the side. Also, Martinez, on paper, throws more volume. The only problem with Martinez, and also Martinez can mix in the grappling, the wrestling as well. Now against Aldo, who's got superior takedown defense, I don't know how that's going to work out. But
cage pushing, minutes against the cage.
I can see the cage pushing thing, 100%. It's, I don't know. It's a coin flip for me for this fight, to be honest, and it's surprising because I feel like I want to lean Martinez here for the win, but I mean it's to count out Aldo. It's tough, even with all the time off. I think it's just tough to count him out because he is the better fighter. But
no. I'm with you here. This might be a dog play. And it's only because I don't necessarily trust Martinez's boxing outside of his kicking. With that said, he should probably get this fight done. The reason being is because Aldo historically has struggled against guys that are lanky strikers. He does. It's just what it is. McGregor, Holloway. Unless you have like a distinct edge on him, like an elite edge, like a Peter Yan, where you can put your punches from both stances together and with power.
Yeah.
The Marlon Moraes fight, that's why I can kind of see the resemblance with that fight versus this fight. Aldo's very good at checking kicks, though. And that's why this is a very interesting contest. I don't know how I want to bet it, to be frank, for that reason.
This could be dog or pass.
It could be dog or pass on this fight. And it could be dog or pass if
We just need to see, and again, we're not calling Jonathan Martinez fucking
he's not a fraud.
Conor McGregor or anything like that. But it's more of a thing. We just need to see. And Martinez is coming off. He's got a 6-fight win streak.
Yes.
This is also apparently his last fight on his contract. So I mean, UFC's in a win-win here, right? Because if he beats Aldo, I mean, listen, they can push Martinez, right? But if he loses to Aldo, they have negotiation leverage in terms of like his next contract. So
yeah, stylistically, this is a tough fight for him. It's a tough fight for both of them, to be frank.
100%.
But it's only a tougher fight for Aldo because of the time off and the youth. But as well too, Jonathan, his strikes are very awkward. He knows how to use his size a bit, and he can wrestle.
Yes.
Saeed was trying to wrestle this guy, and Saeed had a hard time with him.
And he's beat good guys. He's
beat very good
Saeed
guys.
is a very impressive win, in my opinion.
And the thing is, if Aldo didn't have good leg checks, like leg kick checks, I'd say this is going to look a lot like the Giannis fight. The problem is, Aldo is a pressure fighter. Aldo's going to walk him down. However, this is also one of the first times in Aldo's career at 35 that he's going to fight someone that's bigger than him, physically. I think they're the same height. Let me double check that. I think they're the same height, but Martinez has the 2-inch reach advantage. Max Holloway had the reach advantage, what was taller.
Actually, what they got listed here, they got...
Yeah, Aldo, actually, Martinez is an inch taller and 2 inches in reach.
No, he's got a half-inch reach disadvantage.
Oh, wow. It's crazy because if you look at these guys' frames, you would not think that.
Yeah.
So, which is crazy.
Like, Martinez looks like the bigger guy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, it's probably one of these fights you just want to wait until weigh-ins, wait to the face-offs.
Correct. I also want to see how Martinez looks in the scales because he is a big guy. He always looks super sucked out. Does he miss weight? Does he look terrible for the weigh-in?
And even Aldo, like, he cuts a tremendous amount of weight for bantamweight.
Correct.
So
correct. This is a good fight.
It is.
It's a good fight. It just shows you how great Jose Aldo is, even at this age, and taking 2 years off. So.
But again, he's taking 2 years off, but he hasn't really been inactive. Again, he's been doing boxing.
Correct.
But I mean, again, MMA, it's a different beast. But I mean, Aldo, again, it's tough to bet against him when you know what he's capable of, and he's just been doing it at such a high level for so long. Again, we just need to see something crazy out of Martinez, in my opinion. This is probably dog or pass. I'm still kind of on the fence about this fight, though.
Same. I'll go dog or pass as well, which means Aldo is the play. Well, the lead, rather. So,
UFC 301 main event at flyweight. We got the champion, the cannibal, Alexandre Pantoja, going one-on-one with the Astro Boy sensation from Australia.
Terrible name.
Steve Erceg. Pantoja, 27-5, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 34 years old. Erceg, 12-1, fighting out of Australia, hailing from Australia, 28 years old. This fight's interesting because I don't think Erceg is bad. I think actually Erceg is very good. And at flyweight,
top 15, everything, the level is there.
The level is there. I don't want to sleep on Erceg here. But that being said, I mean, Pantoja, he's been in this division since probably its inception, I think, right?
Correct.
He's currently the champion now. I don't think they wanted to what's the right word?
Give Erceg the shot.
Yeah. They kind of gave him a fast track to this fight, and it's only because of a couple things.
Pantoja's kind of cleared out the top 5. Moreno retired and then recently lost. Royval's hurt. Who else is in the top 5?
Manel Kopp probably should be fighting, but
He's hurt. Injury.
Makayev probably should be fighting him, but did not have a good showing against Alex Perez, who actually had a very good showing last week. But bang, you know what I'm saying? Just to remind people. I'm leaning Pantoja here. As much as I want, because when I first seen this fight, I'm high on Erceg. I was initially leaning Erceg, but the more I thought about it, I mean, Erceg's jiu-jitsu is good, but has he fought anybody in Pantoja's level?
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably say no.
Pantoja, arguably, in my opinion, has the best MMA jiu-jitsu.
Yes,
which is nuts. That's saying a lot.
Pantoja is probably also one of the best back takers in this division.
Yeah.
Pantoja, not a slouch on the ground, is hittable. And I think if this fight is standing, Erceg probably stands a very good chance here because I think Erceg's boxing is actually pretty solid. I think his striking is pretty solid.
I agree. Pantoja can bang, though.
But Pantoja can bang.
And he hits very hard. I'm
not too worried about Erceg's cardio. I am worried a bit about Pantoja's cardio, but that's only because Pantoja goes all out.
Correct.
He's one of those, he just dumps all the energy.
Correct. And we'll see how he comes out this fight. Maybe he's a little more patient.
Who knows?
We'll see what happens.
Or maybe he's just, I'm also a little afraid because this is Pantoja fighting in Brazil. He's got fucking Jose Aldo as his co-main.
He's ready to die in there.
He's
ready to die in there.
I'm going to say he stays composed because I think he's one of those guys who is when he's in a fight, he's fucking locked in. He's do or die in that octagon.
Correct.
But is there a chance that he kind of just lets the pressure get to him just a bit? You got his idol fighting in his co-main. He's in Brazil. This is always what he's wanted, to defend the belt in fucking Brazil, in his home. I think he's going to be all right. I'm going to lean Pantoja here. I'm going to lean Pantoja probably by decision because I think Erceg's a tough son of a bitch. And I don't think he gets enough credit. I think the jiu-jitsu is probably going to be where I think we're gonna see the difference.
Correct.
What do you got? I'm leaning Pantoja.
I'm leaning Pantoja as well, and I'm leaning Pantoja because I think Pantoja, for whatever reason, still being super disrespected in this division.
He is a bit,
dude. No one gets Brendan Moreno down. He was able to get Brendan, get his back. The way he cut through most of this division with relative ease with the jiu-jitsu. His jiu-jitsu and his wrestling is underrated. Yes. That's the other thing. I don't think people talk enough about his wrestling. His ability to get you to the floor and get your back. Erceg is not the biggest puncher either. So I'm not sure. Can he crack? Sure. But he's not like a vicious puncher like Figueiredo.
I don't know. I mean, I think his striking is underrated. I think he can crack. I think probably the biggest question here is, can Erceg bully Pantoja?
Correct.
Because I think if he can, this fight is super interesting. But if he can't, I think Pantoja does finish him eventually. I don't think this fight goes the distance, but I am leaning this fight probably goes the distance. Only because, I like I said, I think Erceg's just a tough dude.
I agree. I would love to see the fight that he lost. We can't find it anywhere. You know, we've been looking for it, ladies and gentlemen, and we cannot find it. And I've been looking for it because I want to see if the guy wrestled him. I really do. I want to see if he wrestled him. I want to see how he looked in those certain positions. No one's really challenged Erceg with the wrestling. And this is the problem. I think match Snell to
Pantoja?
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
That's a big leap.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I like Matt Schnell, but you know.
Yeah. It also took it. Remember, and by the way, if I remember correctly, Matt Snell had like 1 or 2 moments in that first round. Erceg finished him in the second, beginning of the second. So I gotta leave Pantoja just on body of work, evidence. I can physically see what Pantoja can do, and I do think that this guy has the uncanny, a surprising. You see it when he fights these guys. When he gets to their back, they're like, "How the fuck did this happen?"
It's one of these fights where it's got like, I think Erceg is live, but unlike last week where, you know, we knew Perez was being a little bit overlooked.
Correct.
And it's because we've seen what he's done against higher level competition. We haven't seen it against Erceg.
Correct.
So he's live? Probably. How live? We don't know.
Yeah, like we knew Perez was live as hell, and especially with Nicolau.
Yes.
Nicolau always seems to fold when that big moment shines, man. And it's because he has deficiencies. Erceg hasn't really shown deficiencies, but no one's really challenged him on those deficiencies either.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting.
No one's really poked holes to see how, you know,
how good he is.
How vulnerable he is in certain spots or not, you know?
Correct. Now, what I will say, he's coming from Australia. I do have questions about the wrestling because they're wrestling over the wrestling program over there. Unless you're working with Rob Whittaker, it's not that good. It's not that good. I'm going to be frank with you. Or Volk, you know, where they can offensively wrestle. And even Volk, he works more off the body lock.
Yeah.
And he's just such a gorilla, he'll throw you down. I'm not sure Erceg is going to be stronger than Pantoja in this fight. And like I said, unless you're working with one of those two, I don't really see Australian wrestling as a big offensive threat to someone like Pantoja who has good wrestling and has good back takes and can crack on the feet. Like he can definitely win this fight on the feet.
100%. It's just, again, and it's also one of those spots where Erceg's money line was probably a little more, from a betting perspective, if his money line was a little more juicy.
If it was like 300, I play him.
Yeah, it's big enough for me to take the bite. But right now,
I'm waiting for the money to come in just like a bet Pantoja because Pantoja right now is at minus 185.
Yeah, I think there's some value there.
That's playable. It's playable.
I think there's some value.
We don't like betting over minus 150 on the money line in this podcast, but guess what? Like when you have a world champion that's like begging to be played.
Yes.
I feel like this is justified, and we'll see what happens. We want to say this line is tracking, but I think money's coming in on Erceg, and we're gonna find out. We're gonna find the fuck out. So, Pantoja probably ITD. I think he subs him or he stops him a ground and pound. And that's the other thing too. Have we seen Erceg go 5 rounds?
We haven't.
Not the UFC level.
And I know people question his cardio, but
I'm not too worried about it. But
I don't think I'm too worried about it.
I just think with the wrestling exchanges, shit can happen.
Shit can happen. You're not wrong.
It's just a different cardio. Like he probably has cardio for days with the boxing, but with the wrestling endurance, I'm not sure. We haven't seen it, so I'm willing to take a bet that Pantoja is going to expose him. So Pantoja.
And there you have it, folks. UFC 301, top to bottom, exciting pay-per-view card. I'm definitely hyped to dig my teeth into it from a betting perspective, but that's not the only thing we're going to be digging our teeth into from a betting perspective, because we also got some good old boxing for the weekend.
Yes. And arguably, these fights I would say are bigger than this card this weekend, which we should have went with this first, but honestly, like the contests are not really, I'll give Jaime Munguia some respect. But first off, we got Canelo Alvarez going against Jaime Munguia in Mexico on not Cinco de Mayo, but
Cinco de Mayo weekend.
Yeah, the 4th. So I like this fight for a lot of reasons. It's not going to be boring.
No.
Unless Jaime gives him too much respect.
That's true. But I don't think so.
I don't think Jaime's going to give him respect. Jaime has a ton of fights under his belt. He has good, decent wins on him. But what I will say is he is very hittable. And I feel like with someone with Canelo, you have to have superb defense and a good jab. He did kind of show his jab his last fight, but not really. And can it be a consistent jab against someone like Canelo Alvarez? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. He is going to be the bigger guy, but everyone's bigger than Canelo at
this point,
middleweight.
To be honest, yeah.
I just feel like Canelo's going to find him. Canelo's going to hurt him. Canelo probably stops him anywhere between round 5 to round 10. I like Jaime too. Don't get me wrong, but I have seen him get hit. He got hit against Gabe Rosado. He got rocked in that fight, if I remember correctly. He got hurt pretty bad. If the commentary didn't pick it up, people who know what they're watching watched. And Gabe Rosado's like an old, washed-up vet at this point. As much as I don't want to disrespect my boy because he's Boricua, hold it down. You know what I'm saying? I love him. I don't think he's afraid of anybody. Canelo is a fucking dog. Durable, good chin. Unless you're a big puncher or a guy who has the formula's out on him. You have to be a very big puncher that can hurt him, which we haven't seen yet. Or you have to be a guy who has a great jab and good footwork and good defense to be Canelo Alvarez. Jaime Munguia is none of that. You know?
I mean, can Munguia maybe formulate a game plan?
Sure.
I think he can. I mean, like you said, I think the blueprint is out there.
The size and the reach and the youth.
You know? And he is young. He does have some pop. I could see him coming in with a jab-oriented game plan. I mean, but at the end of the day, these are two Mexicans on the 4th of July, on the Cinco de Mayo weekend. They're going to throw down.
Correct.
And I'm going to lean Canelo. I'm with you. I'm not as confident for a couple reasons. I mean, Canelo's, not on the decline, but he is getting a bit older. He is fighting a young and hungry Mexican. I don't want to say prospect. He's a contender. And Munguia, I always say speed can kill. Speed will kill. But he is very hittable. It's going to be a good fight. I'm not going to completely discount Munguia because I think one of those things, it's one of those things where, Canelo, he has a certain aura. And I don't think Munguia is going to respect that aura. I think Munguia is going to come forward and disrespect Canelo. But Canelo, pound for pound, one of the greatest currently. He should be able to get it done here.
Yeah, I just have a hard time. You could never rule out someone in this weight class with this weight, right? But I just have a hard time believing Munguia is going to figure him out for a couple of reasons. Because one of them being that, and you don't like to do boxing math here, but everyone that Canelo's beaten in this weight class, I'm not sure Munguia beats. Does he beat Caleb Plant? Does he beat even Jermell Charlo? That's a good fight. I'd probably favor Munguia because I think Jermell's a little crazy.
Yeah.
But does he beat like a Billy Joe Saunders? And I love how guys like to say that these guys are all overrated after they lose, but these guys are undefeated champions.
Yeah, the problem with boxing is like, once you take one L, it's like, he's washed, he's over, he's a bum. Like, come on.
It's ridiculous.
These guys are fucking professional fighters, man, fighting at the highest level. And it's one reason why, not to be sidetracked, but this is why I respect MMA a little more because, your O's don't define you.
No.
Your losses don't define you.
Just don't be boring in MMA.
Yeah,
that's the truth. Don't be boring because if you're boring, you'll get booed. But if you lose, you lose. As long as you go out like a warrior and you put your ass on the line like that. But
that's right.
If you're asking me, like Munguia would have a hard time beating half of the guys Canelo beat. He's way too hittable, in my opinion. Is he going to be able to hurt Canelo is the question. I don't know. I don't think so. If you're asking me, I think Canelo's chin is one all-time great chin. And could he get him with the volume? Sure, but he would have to hope for a decision against this guy too. Like, because I think Canelo's up 4 rounds before the fight even starts, which is fucking horrible to say, but
well, yeah, that's just judging for you, to be honest.
It's judging and boxing corruption, right?
Yeah.
So I think everything, unlike Bivol, I think Bivol had a lot of the tools to beat Canelo. I don't know if Munguia is going to be able to stick to that game plan and work behind the jab, which is not really his style. There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons to like Canelo in this fight. So I'm going to lean Canelo. Probably by knockout. I'll take him by the knockout. But if it goes to decision, I'd be surprised. I might flip and flop by this pick. I'm not sure. I want to give it a little more time before I give a distinct judgment on this. But I do think he stops him. I think Canelo's going on an ass-whipping tour right now. If Jermell didn't fight like a bitch the last fight, he would have. He probably would have packed him up. And let me not say fight like a bitch. I think Jermell just fought to survive.
I think Jermell fought for the paycheck. Let's be honest.
No, let's just, So I was being too nice. So he fought like a pussy. Let's just call it like it is. He didn't fight to win that fight. So if Canelo comes out like that and starts putting damage on Jaime, who I think is way more hittable than Jermell, might be a long night for Jaime, man.
I'm also gonna lean Canelo here. Haven't decided which way I want to lean, but I mean, that being said, that's not the only boxing fight we got. That might be the only boxing fight we got for Saturday, but not the only boxing fight we got overall. We got a Monday night or Monday early morning, depending on how you look at it, fight over in Japan.
Yeah, we have Louis Neary going against in my opinion, the pound for pound best boxer on the planet, Naiwa Inoue.
The monster.
The monster. What I will say about this fight, it's kind of crazy seeing Inoue move up in weight, and he's still bigger than most of these guys. Neary 5'5" with a 65-inch reach. Naito Inoue is, I believe, 5'6", 5'6" with a 67-inch reach, if I'm correct. I'm gonna double check that, but I like Inoue for the obvious reasons. The pound for pound best fighter in the sport. I think the speed is gonna be a lot of trouble for Neary in this fight. Neary lost to, if I'm correct, Brendan Figueroa. Did he lose to Brendan Figueroa, or am I bugging?
I got you right now. Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Figueroa.
Yep. And
7th round, body shot, TKO.
Yeah, if you want the honest truth, I'm not very high on Brendan Figueroa. I think he's a very stationary target. I think he's a very linear fighter. Doesn't really have tremendous footwork. All he has is a granite chin, decent power, and good pressure. Brendan Figueroa lost to Stephen Fulton. Stephen Fulton got stopped by in a way that I did not think he was going to get stopped. You don't like to do boxing math, but sometimes, or MMA math, but sometimes that's how I look at this, and that gives me room to think even further. Now, with that said, back to the Figueroa example, a guy who's stationary, throws a lot of shots, and kind of overwhelms you with volume. In a way, kind of the same guy, but with better footwork, more speed, and better precision. I think he knocks him out. I think he gets him out of there. I think he wants to rewrite what he got wrong in that last fight against his last opponent, because I believe that fight went to decision, right? Or did he stop him late?
In a way, stopped him late.
Late. That fight was not his most impressive performance. And Inoue is staying at this weight class, as he said in his last fight, to improve on his skills, because he kind of seen some of his deficiencies in this weight class. So he's kind of fighting, not the next guy up, because there is a guy waiting for him. And this is why boxing's horrible, because I can't even remember the dude's name off the top of my head, but he's a Russian cat that is pretty good, really good in this weight class. He's actually the guy that beat Inoue's last opponent. But Inoue should get it done. I think the speed and the power are going to be a little too much for Neary. And Neary has shown in the past to be a little comparable to a guy who can bully him and could put pressure and volley and punch him together. Inoue does all of that with better precision and speed. Inoue by knockout, not sure when. Follow us on social media platforms to figure it out. There's just so much to cover this weekend with MMA and boxing. That's why we want to be a little more particular with when we give these rounds out for boxing. Want to do a little more work, but those are definitely the sides. So,
yeah, I don't disagree. I'm also leaning in a way. Don't know how, but it's probably going to be inside the distance. Whatever the over under is on the round prop, probably gonna be the under. But that's about it. I mean, we got the boxing covered, we got the UFC covered, and I'm just looking forward to this weekend. To be honest, happy Cinco de Mayo to all the Mexicanos out there, and happy fight weekend to all the fight heads out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, we should have worn red and yellow today.
Well, I mean, I got the yellow.
Oh, red and green, rather. Red, green, and white.
That's true.
Damn. Sorry, guys. We missed the ball on that one, but
we dropped it, brother.
You guys already know the routine. Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Everybody enjoying the visuals right now. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, you already know. That's a wrap. Love you guys. Holla at you guys. See you next week with some winning tickets.